Hello and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host Rob. In today's video we're going to be finally doing my Pact of the Talisman Warlock, which I promised a while ago and haven't done yet. But the next video I'm actually quite excited about. I actually have a viewer request from viewer Vagrant, I believe I pronounced it hopefully right. I hope I did, because Vagrant isn't just a casual viewer. This guy watches every one of my videos and comments on all of them. You're one of the most dedicated people I have, so I definitely want to make your video for you. And he has requested that I do a build for the Darkness from Top Cow and Image Comics. And I've read some of the Darkness. I didn't read some of the later stuff. I read a lot of the early stuff, but I have done a lot of research on them over this past week. And I'm actually looking really forward to that video. I think it's going to be pretty good. And hopefully I do you right. Anyways. Then after that, we'll probably do some like Broken Lands campaign review stuff and, whatever else, right? Probably look at more Tasha's stuff. At some point, I actually want to do a video where we just go over like every Warlock invocation, and I just kind of give, I don't know, maybe tier rankings or something like that, something along those lines. Or just rate them all and how good I think they are from 1 to 5 or whatever. I think that'd be pretty good too. But anyways, today's video isn't about all that. Today's video is about the Pact of the Talisman. And I'm actually pretty excited that we got a new Pact, mostly because the other 3 all were in the player's handbook and we haven't gotten anything since. So it's nice we actually got a 4th option finally. That's alright. And this one is more of a support option, which is kind of neat as well. It allows you to maybe give your talisman to somebody else and they can get the benefits of it. Granted, I tend to be kind of selfish with this stuff, and I want the benefits for myself, I didn't sell my soul so the cleric could get a saving throw bonus. I mean, come on. In general, though, I think it's nice that we have another option. I will say that I really, like I've mentioned before, Warlock's like my favorite class in the entire game. Part of that's because I love a lot of the roleplay options you have, I think that the different packs and patrons and stuff really gives you some nice flavor for your character, and can be very, very different. It's easy to make the you sold your soul for power type joke, right? Because you think of Pact of the Fiend or something along those lines, and these Faustian bargains are a common thing in lore, right? Trading your soul or whatever for instant power and a quick road to success. Always the smart choice. But it doesn't have to be that way. You could have a Pact of the Celestial Warlock, and maybe you serve some sort of angel or divine power, and now you try to uphold truth, justice, and the American way or whatever, and serve the causes of good, and this angel is giving you a portion of its abilities or power or whatever. And that's a completely different feel for a character, but it's also one that has a lot of great roleplay potential, and I just kind of like that. I like the fact that there's a lot of roleplay built into the character of the Warlock. I think they're excellent for that. Then I also think Warlocks are much more customizable than most other classes, because really your patron, if you think of it as being like your subclass, well, most classes you have your base class, and then you customize through your subclass, through maybe feat choices if your campaign allows feats, and then if you have a spell list, maybe you take more damage spells or more crowd control spells, or more buff or debuff type spells or whatever, and you can customize your role in the party through those kind of spells, right? If you have a spell list at all, of course. But the Warlock not only has their subclass choice, which is your patron, you not only have a spell list that you can be customizing through, you have feat choices just like everybody else does, but you also have your Pact, and you even have Invocations. So you have these extra levels that you can add to your character and really make a unique character. And just as a quick example from different characters that I've personally played, I had a Hexblade who wasn't even really going to use a weapon. I was just going to Eldritch Blast. The core concept of that character is I was going to be a summoner. But the reason I went Hexblade was because A, I had better armor, so that helps. And B, you get the Accursed Spectre at level 6. And I figured I'm going to be summoning stuff anyway. Now if I get a killing blow on somebody in combat, I get this free, on a humanoid, I get this free ghost that just follows me around and helps me out and can scout, can fight and everything else. And if I'm going to be going into more of a summoning role, getting free summons is pretty awesome. and then I was going to go Pact of the Chain. I was going to have my familiar, and I was just going to kind of take a bunch of summoning spells, you know, not all summoning spells, but several of them, of course, and just kind of play that type of role. On the other hand, I never got to because we had a total party kill at level 1, of course. So he, unfortunately, didn't really get to cast anything except for Eldritch Blast, and never even got Agonizing Blast to add to the damage, so, you know, unfortunate. Anyways, but that was the concept for that character. I've also played Hexblades, who were typical Hexblades. You just ran into melee combat with a sword or a glaive or whatever else, and just smacked guys around with their Pact weapon, you know? And those two types of characters, despite being the same subclass, are remarkably different in concept, but both very effective, in my opinion. Or, you know, one was effective. Who knows about the other one, because he died too early. He didn't get to be a summoner, so that's why I don't really, you know, say that the summoner failed. He just died before he even had a single summoning spell. Didn't even have his familiar yet. Anyways, enough of my pain. Let's get back to the video. But I do think that Warlocks have a lot of versatility and variety, and that's one of the reasons I really love them. I will say, though, now that we're back on the target of the Pact of the Talisman here, I do think the Talisman is weaker than the other choices. And the main reason is they only have 3 invocations that are directly tied to the Talisman. And most of the others have like 4 or maybe even 5, I'm not even sure, to be honest. Now, that doesn't mean the Pact of the Talisman is bad by any means. Boosting things like saving throws is awesome, because I hate failing saving throws. They can be very crippling, they can take you out of the fight, they can get you killed, of course, also bad. So I do think that it's not that it's a bad choice, it's just that it is more of a support role, and I don't think that it's as like career defining as the others, right? Despite the example of my summoner, even that was career defining choice, you know, my undead spectre that I would have had. If you think about a Pact of the Chain Warlock, or a Pact of the Sword, or a Pact of the Blade Sword, or a Pact of the Tome, all these different things really kind of give you a different theme or idea for how to build your character. The Talisman is just kind of like buffs you and makes you better at ability scores and saving throws, and then can also give you some more versatility like teleporting and stuff, which is very nice. I'm not trying to knock that at all, by the way. Movement is quite good. But I do think that it's a little harder to like build a whole concept around the Talisman than the others. But anyways, let's get into what the actual Pact of the Talisman is. So, your patron gives you an amulet, a talisman that can aid the wearer when the need is great. When the wearer fails an ability check, they can add a die 4 to the roll, potentially turning the roll into a success. This benefit can be used a number of times, equal to a proficiency bonus, and all expended uses are restored when you finish a long rest. If you lose the talisman, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to retrieve a replacement from your patron. This ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous amulet. Your talisman turns to ash when you die. Okay, so let's kind of unpack that a little bit. I like the fact that you just have it on you. It doesn't require concentration or anything else. Obviously, it compares quite closely to Guidance, which is a cantrip, and can give anybody a plus die 4 to that ability check. However, there are some advantages and some disadvantages. Guidance is way more flexible and more versatile, and like I said, you could give your amulet or whatever it is to somebody and they could use it. But one of the advantages of this is that it actually stacks with Guidance. So let's say you have a rogue and he detects that there's some sort of horrific trap that is probably going to kill the entire party if he fails to disarm it. Your cleric or whoever could cast Guidance on the rogue, and you could give the rogue your amulet, and now he's got a plus 2 die 4, making it much more likely that he will actually succeed in his core function of not killing the party by accidentally setting the trap off instead of disarming it. So there is that, which is quite nice. I also think that just not having to have it prepared in advance, because sometimes you don't know that you're going to have to make an ability check of some sort, and you know, so just having it on you is pretty good. The fact that it doesn't require your charges unless you failed and decide to use it, is also good. So you're not, having to use it in advance, saying, okay, I'm going to add the D4, and then you roll a natural 20 and you wouldn't have needed it anyway, and then you just wasted a charge. You don't have to worry about that here. It only happens if you decide to use it on a failed roll. One other weakness, though, compared to things like guidance, is you can't really use it on things like, say, initiative, right? Because initiative is an ability check, but this one requires you to fail the roll. And you can't really fail an initiative roll. The roll is what the roll is. Even if you roll a 1, you didn't fail your initiative, you just had a bad initiative roll. So, there is that. But anyways, that's basically what the Pact of the Talisman is. Now, as for the invocations, of course, this is where the real bread and butter is for most of these things, where you start to add more power to it. We have one that we can take right at level 2 when we first got our invocations. It's only gated, I guess we could call it, by the Pact of the Talisman feature being required. But there's no level restriction. Anyways, Rebuke of the Talisman. When the wearer of your talisman is hit by an attacker, you can see within 30 feet of you. So the wearer doesn't have to be you, but the target has to be within 30 feet of you. Okay. You can use your reaction to deal psychic damage to the attacker equal to your proficiency bonus and push it up to 10 feet away from the talisman's wearer. So this is going to max out at a maximum of 6 damage. That's not a lot of damage. Even at level 2, this isn't a ton of damage. It does use your reaction, but there are unlimited times per day that this could happen, right? It's just limited only to the fact that you've only got the 1 reaction per round. I don't really care about the damage though. Mostly, I might want this for the pushback effect. And this can be useful in combination with like precision damaging spells, like maybe you cast like a Hunger of Hadar or something, and the creature moves out and then it tries to hit you. You can use this to push it back into the Hunger of Hadar effect and take more damage again, right? Which is kind of nice. You could also use it in combination with things like just your Eldritch Blasts. Like, creature gets up in your face and it hits you. Now, if you try to Eldritch Blast it, you're having disadvantage because you're in melee range, or you're having to like move back and eat opportunity attacks. With this, it hits you and then you just push it back automatically. It takes a little bit of damage, but now you're away from it. And if you move, it's not melee range, no big deal, right? So I think that there is some potential there. It can be really good if you and another party member both have forced movement and can find ways to like really, push things and move things into cloud of daggers or, a flaming sphere or something like that. I think it starts having a lot of potential, but that will require probably more than just your forced movement, right? Especially because even with a repelling blast or a grasp of Hadar, this requires you to get hit or the wearer to get hit, and then you can push it back. If it doesn't attack the person wearing the talisman, you don't have that forced movement option. But still, I think there is some potential there. It's not necessarily bad, and it's a fairly low level one that could be okay. At level 7, we also get the Protection of the Talisman invocation potential. Obviously, we can choose to take it. When the wearer of your talisman fails a saving throw, they can add a die 4 to the roll, potentially turning the save into a success. This benefit can be used a number of times equal to proficiency bonus, and all expended uses are restored when you finish a long rest. So basically, like your actual base Pact feature, but that one's for ability checks, this one's for saving throws. But it also means that the wearer can be adding a d4 to either one. And that's starting to get pretty good. And they're each tracked separately, right? So it's not like, let's say you have a +4 proficiency bonus, right? You're not having to use the 4 of them from a pool in order to make ability score or saving throw bonuses. Each one can be used 4 times. And that's pretty good. That's a lot of bonus to miss saving throws. D4 doesn't sound like a lot, mostly because it isn't. But there are so many times where I've seen people fail a saving throw by like 1 or 2. And I do think that if you have, like, say, an artificer in your party with Flash of Genius, or if you have a paladin in your party and you're able to stay close to their aura of protection, getting that extra d4 on top of these other bonuses will make it very, very likely that A, you're not going to run out of your uses. You're going to be able to fit within your proficiency bonus allotment per day, and B, that this will be able to like really influence a lot of rolls. Because if you would have failed by 5 or 6, but then you're like, wait a minute, I'm next to the paladin, and that's an extra +3, and then I can use this and get a plus d4. Suddenly failing by 6 isn't so bad. You've got a 50-50 chance almost at this point of making that saving throw if you roll 3 or 4, of course. So I do think that's pretty good. And like I said, failing saving throws sucks, especially if I'm maybe trying to concentrate on a spell. This is pretty good to have. Boosting my concentration saving throw is quite nice. Lastly, we have Bond of the Talisman, which isn't available until level 12. So while someone else is wearing a talisman, you can use your action to teleport to the unoccupied space closest to them, providing the two of you are on the same plane of existence. The wearer of your talisman can do the same thing using their action to teleport to you. The teleportation can be used a number of times equal to proficiency bonus, and all expended uses are recharged when you finish a long rest. This one I think has a lot of interesting potential. The fact that you can give the talisman to somebody else and then you can teleport back and forth to one another could be potentially pretty good. I think that this has real potential for escaping like different traps and stuff as well, or different scenarios. It'd be really fun with like say a wizard's familiar or something, because you're Pact of the Talisman, so you don't have a familiar. You didn't go chain or book. But anyways, something like that, where maybe you have some sort of like tiny creature that could like just crawl out of wherever you're imprisoned, and then it allows you to like teleport to them. That could be kind of neat. Something along those lines. Or better yet, you like give it to somebody else, they teleport out, and then you can use the ritual, create your own talisman again, pass it, back through when the familiar crawls back in again or whatever. There could be potential there. However, by the time you're level 12, you might also just have better escape methods. I mean, you're one level away from people actually just having the teleport spell. But, still, mobility in combat is not a bad thing. So I will never knock that. I like the idea that you could just like teleport to somebody else and then use other abilities. But it does take actions to do. So I do think that does limit its usefulness in combat to a degree anyways. And basically that's it. That's the invocations. That's the Pact. Like I said, I don't think that it's necessarily bad, but I do think that it's probably weaker than the others. I really don't like the fact that the level 12 feature, really especially, I have to give the talisman to somebody else, and now they're getting all the benefits from it if I want to teleport to them. And like I said, under certain circumstances where maybe I want to pass it to them and then allow myself to teleport to them, that can be pretty decent. The range is huge, by the way. Anywhere on the same plane of existence is awesome. There's no chance of failure or anything like that. So there are like some really, really neat features for something like this. I think it might be funny to, have a character who maybe uses like something like sleight of hand and puts their talisman into somebody else's possession and then uses it later to teleport to that person. That can be kind of funny or interesting as well, kind of like a way of tracking the person almost, right? I think that there's some cool potential there. I just think that compared to some of the others, especially the tome and the blade, those are clearly my two favorites. I like the chain a lot too, though. The chain really, really benefited from Tasha as well, getting some really nice invocations. So chain, I feel like it was very, very strong at low levels, and then kind of like fell off at like mid levels even, because your familiar just couldn't really be relied on to do anything. It has very few hit points. It might have like a poison attack of some sort. In fact, I think they all do. But it's based off the creature's spell save DC, which is usually terrible because they're all low-level creatures, right? But using some of the new invocations, you can have the creature attack as your bonus action, so you can still make your attacks, and then he can attack as well. He gets your spell save DC, so you could have an excellent spell save DC, and now he has yours, which makes it much more likely that those poison attacks will actually work. So I think that the chain really improved a lot as of Tasha's, and I like that we finally have a support type class. I think that the Talisman has some cool roleplay potential as well. It really kind of fits that like catch-all where maybe I didn't see myself using a book or having a familiar or using a weapon of some sort. Like I look at guys like Doctor Strange and he's got like the Eye of Agamotto and stuff like that, right? Or the Orb of Agamotto as well. And a million. Actually, Doctor Strange is a bad example. He has like 50 different artifacts, but whatever. But I think for certain characters, you might have that idea of like, well, I kind of wanted my thing to be like this other object of some sort, right? Now it can be, which I think is cool. I just wish that it had more invocations, but who knows? We might get more in future books, which would be nice as well. Like I said, I think that the Pact of the Talisman does help to make a character a lot more durable in the sense that you've got bonuses to saving throws, bonuses to ability checks and stuff like that. And those things are very, very good. I'm not trying to like downplay them. It's just they're also reactive abilities that require something bad to happen to you, and then for you to fail that saving throw or ability check, and then you can use this to try to like turn that into a success. I'd probably rather just be able to like have more ritual spells available, or have a cool weapon that I can smite guys with, So overall, I do like the fact that we got a new one. I'm happy that we finally got more options as well. I'm glad that we got a support option, but I do think that this is one that will probably benefit more from having more content added as the game goes on. It's definitely not my first choice or recommendation, which is one of the reasons why it's taken me a while to get around to doing a video on it, to be honest. But that's okay. Anyways, that's everything I have for this. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. As I always say, most importantly, leave me your comments. And I will try to have that video on the darkness done in the next day or two. I might even be able to do it tonight, actually. I should have time tonight. So it'll probably get uploaded tomorrow in that case. But definitely within the next 48 hours, I will have the darkness video as well. Quite excited about that one. Yeah, that's everything. Thank you for watching.